Welcome to The Definitive Wrap, where we report the truth about American exceptionalism. We love our flag, we love our country, and we believe in America. The Definitive Wrap, where we respect people of faith, the men and women in blue, and our support for Israel. And now, your host, Bela Seabrow on The Definitive Wrap.
Hello, and welcome to The Definitive Wrap. I am Bela Seabrow. Thank you to Five Towns Central for sponsoring this show. It's always great to host candidates on the show to give our audience a personal overview and assist in their decision-making process so they can vote for the person who will best serve them. With us today is mayoral candidate Sam Nahmias, who has been a resident of the Lawrence community for nearly 2 decades. Together with his wife, they are raising 3 beautiful children, all of whom have lived in Lawrence since they were born. Sam loves his community and has seen how good Lawrence can be, and he only wants the best for the residents of the village. In his career in the private sector, he had the opportunity to be a leader, heading up corporate research for firms such as The Economist, Forbes, and Starbucks Corporate before starting his own research firm 20 years ago. He has been fortunate to build and run a fruitful and rewarding business that he has since stepped away from. He now wants to apply his business skills to give back to the community. When Sam took over as the chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the NCBA, Nassau County Bridge Authority, it was a turnaround story, and we will hear all about it. We'll get much more details from Sam. So, Sam, a tremendous welcome to The Definitive Wrap.
Thank you very much, Bela.
Please tell our audience, first of all, what happened at NCBA, and also tell us a bit about what NCBA is all about.
Sure. So back in 2022, shortly after our great county executive, Bruce Blakeman, had won an election, also a hotly contested one, he had dinner with me and another close friend and had asked, given my experience in the private sector, having founded my own company, a very successful research company, that he needed someone with a good business acumen to lead the authority. The authority, is now it's about a 72-year-old infrastructure. It was built during the Robert Moses projects. It was intended to be a toll collecting bridge. That's the Atlantic Beach Bridge.
Okay.
But as you can understand, anybody that's gone through it, it's been, it was left to rot, essentially. The people were complaining about the traffic, the lines backing up all the way to the 878.
Why was it left to rot?
It's a twofold process. When I arrived at the NCBA, the last 2 decades since I arrived, the emphasis was we have to maintain this toll in terms of don't raise it higher. Now, there was a toll study that was done 20 years ago that said that toll increase was only good for 6 years, and they kept it on for a long time. But over time, as you know, when you build a house 20 years ago and you're building a house today, the costs are more than probably double, triple,
right.
probably.
Right.
So when you defer capital improvement projects, unfortunately, they cost a lot more money down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, our bulkheading across our fields by the ocean were rotted. There are holes there. We had to close out the fields so nobody would fall into the ground
Right.
and hit water. The road work, the toll plaza needed major renovations. There were holes everywhere. We had problems with employees getting sick, complaining about not having fresh quality of air coming through them.
Oh, I see.
I was stuck online one time as I'm the chairman of the board. I'm stuck online. What's going on? I'm on the way to the sands like everybody else goes to. And I'm like, what's going on for 25 minutes? Someone has no money. So you write up, no funds. And it takes them 25 minutes to write up something for a $2 toll.
Right. With people waiting online to get through with other people in the background.
Meanwhile, it's costing us $20 an hour for that employee, right?
Yeah. Well,
You're losing money. So none of it made sense. There was the need to declare an emergency before I got there.
Mm-hmm.
There was the need to raise capital. There was the need to double the tolls. And when I got there, great help of Shalom Maidenbaum, who helped me out a lot. He was on the board. Um, and Vincent Pasquale, who's the vice chair, we put the brakes on the kibosh, as we would say, on a lot of things. No emergencies yet. Let's
Mm-hmm.
think through what we want to do. Are we going to spend all this money? I mean, doubling the tolls seems like a very, very bad thing to do, and that's not something I'm for.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
we needed to step back plans and just revisit how we're going to fix this.
I
And if
see.
we're going to spend millions of dollars on, we were running Windows CE still. It's a 40-year-old, 30-something-year-old program. If you're going to want to change something, you got to know how you're going to change it. So I said, why don't we bring Easy Pass in?
Mm-hmm.
So we brought in a new manager from the Metro Transit Authority. Great guy. He retired from the authority, and he was working at the county as a deputy commissioner of public works. We brought him on board, Ray Webb. When we did the hire, we hired the right person. We couldn't have hired the better person.
Right.
We started the process, and MTA came in and sponsored us as an affiliate member of the consortium of Easy Pass. It's a group,
Right.
essentially, owned by Conduit. The system itself is Conduit, but either you're a full member or an affiliate member. We're a small authority. We didn't want to pay full member rates.
Right.
But by being sponsored by the MTA, they service us.
Uh-huh.
They issue their tags. They give us a list of all the tags every day in terms of who's active, who's not, who has money. So partnered with them, made sure that the toll increase that was going to be planned was not going to be so high for the residents. So I took some heat from the state because they said, well, tourism, if you make non-county residents higher, it affects them. Well, either you make one higher and you make one lower, or you make
Right.
both, it doesn't work. So the residents that use it need it.
Mm-hmm.
So we kept the county at the lower rate and we kept the non-county at the higher rate, because you got to take care of your people first.
Yes.
The Atlantic Beach, Long Beach, and the entire Barrier Island, which encompasses Atlantic Beach, Long Beach, Point Lookout, Lido Beach, was kept only at a 50-cent increase.
Mm-hmm.
The non-county people went up by $1. And you can still, but remember, there used to be these little decals that you have to get stuck onto your window that half the time didn't work. So what we ended up doing is we incorporated into Easy Pass. You can buy an unlimited subscription a year to go through it.
Right. Right.
So we did all of this, refinanced the bonds, saved 1.2 million almost in interest savings. That was one of the initiatives that I personally spearheaded at the authority.
Right.
A lot of work went into it. We revamped the operations. We started to fix our road work. The Nassau County Bridge Authority is not just the Atlantic Beach Bridge. It is the main asset. But we also have our evacuation fields that the Coast Guard and the National Guard
Oh, I
can
see.
use.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, we're still surrounded by water. If something
Yes.
happens, an executive order has to get issued to start the evacuation. So we
I
have
see.
that
Right.
ability there. We are back up and linked to Office of Emergency Management with Nassau County,
Mm-hmm.
which responds to catastrophes and emergencies and the police.
Right.
We signed an agreement with the police departments. They start fueling their vehicles there. So they're passing more vehicles by Lawrence now
Right.
on the way to the authority.
Uh-huh.
Remember, our offices are in Lawrence.
Yes.
The main
Yes.
building's in Lawrence. So, so the police are there now refueling, which helps them. It helps the community. And we have the fire rescue also that sits on our property. We have the
Mhm.
JFK Memorial, and we have our
Right.
fields. And so it's a significant infrastructure. It's probably somewhere to the tune of a 300 million to a $500 million infrastructure.
Yeah.
And we're fiduciaries. So our responsibility are to the bondholders and to ensure that the roads and the operations work well, right? And by the way, we also have a drawbridge, right? That
Mhm.
cost over, it was I think about $22 million renovation that happened many years ago.
Wow.
And that machine room was 50 years old. So we just worked through with the Coast Guard, because if you notice, Long Beach also has a toll, also has no tolls, but it has a drawbridge,
Right.
but they're next to us. So if someone's not going through them, then what's the point of going through us at night? See, there's maritime law
course.
there. Maritime law supersedes state law. If the drawbridge gets stuck closed, the Coast Guard will force it open.
I see.
So we managed to follow Long Beach's steps. And instead of having people man the drawbridge at night and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they have to be CDL licensed, it's a commercial license, we worked out with the Coast Guard. It was an initiative that just came through. that we can do it by appointment now.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to have somebody there all the time, because you know how many openings at night happen? Less than 100.
Mm-hmm. And how
So
much time? Just per night?
in a year.
In a year.
In a year, it's less than one every 3 days.
I see.
So
Yeah.
to pay somebody to be there at night doesn't make any sense till the morning, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So we now have
Sure.
it by appointment, which
Okay.
was a great initiative there. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it's not my first trip in politics in terms of, I have a lot of friends in Congress that I know. I've helped Lee Zeldin in his campaign. I support the party with the most common sense, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need to protect our community. You know, I think that we're right now in some very trying times.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. I mean, you know, anti-Semitism, the very nature of it, it's covert nature. It's people, you don't know who's really being anti-Semitic because they're quiet about it. But when they
Not
come
but not
out, they come
anymore.
out.
Not anymore.
That's right. Not anymore.
Yeah.
So our community needs real leadership. I think my opponent is a wonderful lady. Yes, I'm going to be attacked personally because that's the nature of politics. But I think she's done a lot of good things. But our community and our village needs a chief executive, someone who's going to manage the budgets and the finances of the village. That's my personal opinion. The village has gone through a spending spree, just raised taxes by 9%. And, you know, there are things that we don't need to be doing. We don't need to be investing in a $500,000 golf simulator system that's not being used, $800,000 on a kosher stand at the country club, when our roads are not working correctly, when our lights are not working, when our roadways to the bridge authority aren't right, that Lawrence is supposed to take care of, and our lighting. You know, there are 54 lights that are out, 170 accidents, two dozen injuries. That's a serious thing. So I respect in politics, Bela, when someone says, you know, we did our best, I'm running, and I know some of my decisions weren't the right decisions, but I promise I'll do better.
Yes.
What I don't respect is narcissism. That's what I don't respect. Just come out and say, we'll do better. But I don't have that now. And that's why I'm running. And that's why I want to make this village a great village. We're running with Shlomo Gottesman, Aaron Felder, great members of our community. They're on my ticket. This wasn't an easy decision. This was a very thoroughly thought out decision because it affects my family too.
Of course.
And to me, community is first. And if the village of Lawrence needs more of my time, then I will step down from my state role at the Bridge Authority because my community is number one.
Right.
And it matters to me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Sam, in your position, do you interact or collaborate with various levels of government?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
So we interact, of course, with the county executive's office. We interact with the police. We interact with our state senator. We interact with our presiding officer. We interact with the legislature, quite frankly. I mean, when we were making big changes, we interact with our councilwoman, Missy Miller. We interact with a lot of people, particularly when big changes are occurring. You know, we try to interact and to get things out the right way and get their feedback and their opinion. And when they write us, we have to write them back. And when there are concerns, we have to address those concerns with them.
Right.
You know, remember, I was appointed by the county executive, but I was confirmed by the full legislature. Democrats and Republicans confirmed me 19-0. So they had confidence, and I was just reconfirmed Bela for 5 more years. And they didn't even ask me to come down because they're happy with the progress. You know, most people don't realize, do you know how many bridges go to the barrier island, which I call Long Beach, Atlantic Beach, Point Lookout, Lido Beach? I bet a lot of people go.
I don't know.
3 bridges. You have Long Beach.
Okay.
You have the Loop Parkway and the Atlantic Beach Bridge. So many years ago, there was a study done by the legislature before our presiding officer, Howard Coppell, by Toback, that why don't we just take this bridge and put it under our tax dollars?
Right.
And the study came back saying not only is it bad, they should probably take over the Long Beach Bridge too. And the reason being is because bridges are rated 1 to 7. 7 is brand new.
Right.
The next day, it's a 6. Next month. You're never going to be really a 7, but we're a 5, and we're 72 years old. Long Beach Bridge is a 3.
Wow.
And those are ratings. There's divers that have to go in there every 2 years to look at the platforms that go into the ground, the pilings, making sure there's no shifts. You have to follow
Yes.
state regulations. You have to be in compliance. One of the things too that our authority wasn't really in compliance with the authority's budget office. They weren't in compliance for years, but came in, and I'm a practical thinker. I'm like, they're asking you for all these things. They're entitled. We should be publishing these things. Let's create a tab on our website that we're redoing called ABO compliance, and it's
Right.
there. And we were told that nobody's ever done that. I mean, you got to see, to me, stagnation leads to a lack of innovation.
Right.
When someone
Right.
sits on a board for 10 years, things get dry. You need change to bring
Yes.
things to the new level. The
Mm-hmm.
village of Lawrence has had the same leader for 8 years and can't run anymore. And that leader got himself a fourth term, which people were upset about. You know, they enacted legislation locally, and they did a vote, and they got him in a fourth term.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's good for things to change up. I think it's good for new leadership to come in. The village of Lawrence has experienced multi-generational changes, and we have to address those multi-generational changes by bringing in leadership that can address the growing needs of the community. I am adamantly against overdevelopment. I am
Mm-hmm.
pro smart development.
Okay.
But before anything, congestion is a big concern.
So
The streets
that's
are congested.
would you say that's one of the issues, what's happening in Lawrence in terms of challenges and
Yes, I
that's what
would
you
say
would
that. I
like to
mean,
change?
I think Lawrence, I think it's also Cedarhurst. I think it's the community. I think that we are congested. I think that the way to alleviate congestion is just take a step back, work with our county, and figure out what studies need to be done to determine what we need to do to repair our infrastructure, our roads.
Right.
Once you can repair that problem, you can address the overdevelopment problem. You know, adding more housing is going to add more strain on our resources. It's just the bottom line. I think that, you know, the county did a study a while back that if Broadway was one way and Central was another way, traffic would be reduced by 40%. Now, that sounds to me, it could be a bad idea. I am not of the opinion of either way, but I think that we need to go back and revisit these things and speak to our community and see what ideas we can bring to the table that facilitates the traffic to move faster. And I think that the double parked cars are a disaster. I think we need to mitigate that. I think we have to take care of our residents and their concerns. There are concerns about people parking, blocking driveways in residential
Well,
streets.
but that's that's something that's a problem in every community. I see no matter
It
where I
is,
go.
except that we're becoming more like Brooklyn, and we need to address that.
Well, some people would say it's good, some people would say it's not,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we need to hear our community out. That's what we
Right.
need
No,
to
I
do.
understand, of course.
And you know what? They're going to be tough decisions, Bela, that need to be made. And some of them are not popular decisions. And
Yes.
you know what? I once spoke before Vice President Mike Pence at a dinner, and I said, you know, I once asked a friend, why is it that this person is so disgruntled with me? And he said, that's because you stood up for something that mattered.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which leads me to this question, to the following question. And it's an age-old question. Why do you want to be mayor? I mean, being in a leadership position is very stressful, and as you know, no good deed goes unpunished, as it goes the saying. But
I think that
why?
Lawrence
Are you
needs
going to make
me.
a lot of enemies? You're going to make a lot of enemies.
I know.
Your friends will
And-
be your friends,
But you know,
or might even become your enemies. You never know.
it's interesting that you say that. Listen, if somebody I entered this race right at the cusp of my last minute decision making. I was writing editorials in the Five Towns Jewish Times about issues in Lawrence, hoping someone would step in
Uh-huh.
and run. And unfortunately, one person couldn't step in and run because of his obligations to another position.
I see.
And there were two trustees that I was in discussions with, and everybody came back and said that maybe you should step in because you fixed an authority. You know what it takes to fix government. Let's face it, we don't need the same thing that's been going on again. I mean, I'm getting calls from people in the community. I mean, I got to tell you, oh, your trash was left out, or you didn't shovel somebody was in Florida and forgot to shovel their snow, and they got a letter
Right.
and a ticket. If you don't show up, you're going to be arrested.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
not what we do to our community.
Oh my gosh.
You say you're going to be fined. You don't have that in Cedarhurst. They're not going to send letters out that you're going to be arrested over a fine. The fine increases. At some point, something like that goes out. The community needs change. The community needs leadership that understands the community. The community needs someone who's going to say, you know what? I'm going to make decisions. You may not like all of them, but it's going to be in the best interest of the overall community. Right? And I think that, I didn't want to be mayor, to be quite honest with you. But after hearing everyone out and speaking to them, and there was a large following, Tammy Roz, Aroni Parnas, our existing trustees who are behind me and have asked me to step in and do this. Other officials have asked me to step in and do this. Our village was embarrassed for not paying a water bill for $800,000. I mean, there are 64 villages, I believe, in the entire Nassau County.
How did they get away with not paying it? If I
the
wouldn't
story
pay my
goes,
water
well,
bill, my water would be shut down.
Right. These are for the fire hydrants, and we're not using them. They're draining. Well, you know what? It's a service that's being provided to you. You got to pay it. You don't have and no other village in the county stepped in and said, oh, we're not going to pay our bill. That's just ludicrous. And on top of that, I'll give you another one. The answer was, well, we negotiated it down. No, you didn't. You didn't negotiate. You might have taken off some of the past due fees, but you still have to deal with a lawyer. And you still have to deal with the outcome of this. So it's not nice. It's really a chilul Hashem, in my opinion. We need to go back to the basics, and we need to treat the community and its residents fairly, not these Gestapo tactics of sending out letters. You're going to be arrested. Come on. I mean, that's
just bullying. That's just wrong.
That's correct. And that's correct. And a lot of that's been going on most recently, from my understanding. And I think it's a little bit of electioneering. So, look, one thing is very important. I did hear rumors about the village officials. I did hear things that I'm not going to repeat, because at the end of the day, our mayor is our mayor. He's outgoing. It's not, there's nothing to benefit by coming in and saying they did this wrong, we're going to do this, we're going to investigate. No, investigate this. That's not how a community moves forward. We win the election, we move forward and lead the community forward. What's in the past is history. As they say, what's in the future is a mystery, right?
Yes.
But we're going to take it to a different level, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to run this village like the best of businesses. And it's time that we do that. We had a great mayor before, Marty Oliner. He ran the place great. He left us with so much money in the bank, over $14 million he left us with in the bank.
Wow.
I know that some of it had to go to the county for the sewer treatment plant, but if you're down to 14.5 to 10.5, how are we down to 3.5 now?
Wow.
We have a country club that gives us a deficit every year. We need to fix that deficit. So that's what I'm for, responsible government.
And I can tell you're going to do it. You're going to do a great job, and you're going to do it with a heart.
I definitely will.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Sam shares a vision to build a better Lawrence. Sam,
absolutely. Thank you, Bela.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to you and to your running mates. And thank you for your time on The Definitive Wrap. And thank you to our audience for tuning in.
You got it. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for listening to The Definitive Wrap with your host, Bela Seabrow. Be sure to tell your family and friends they also can catch The Definitive Wrap on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, and your favorite streaming service. See you next time on The Definitive Wrap.